Hi, Dr. Versalati here. In this screencast, we're going to review the idea of an argument. In linguistics, specifically the sub-area of syntax, arguments are required elements. They're required for the grammaticality of the sentence. And what's required grammatically is dependent on the verb. So if we choose to use the verb sleep, it requires one argument, the person or thing that is sleeping, right? We could add lots of other details, but the only thing that's absolutely required in order for the event of sleep to happen is a sleeper. So let's now think of other verbs. So we know that sleep has one argument, but there are some verbs like hit that requires two arguments. If we're choosing to use the verb hit, or we're describing an event of hitting, there are two required elements. One is the hitter, and the other one is what is being hit. And then there are verbs like gave that require three arguments. It's the giver, the receiver, and what is given. So some verbs require one argument, some verbs require two arguments, and some verbs require three arguments. Let's look at a syntax tree with showing these arguments. This sentence is Sarah gave Jill a gift. We can see that one of the arguments, Sarah, the giver, is showing up here in the noun phrase in subject position. We see that another required element, argument, is showing up as a noun phrase, the receiver, as a noun phrase inside the verb phrase. And the noun phrase of what was given is also a noun phrase here. Sarah gave Jill a gift. We have three required arguments. One is in subject position, and these two are called complements because they're inside the verb phrase. We use the term complement for any required element that's not the subject. Okay. And because they're required, we can see that they're on the same level as the head of the verb phrase. So to recap, we have some verbs require one argument, and that argument is probably going to be in subject position. Some verbs require two arguments, like hit, and one of the arguments is likely to be in subject position, and then we're going to have one complement. Remember, a complement is a required element that's not in subject position. And then we have some verbs in English that require three arguments, and one's going to be in subject position, and then the two other required arguments are going to be complements, like we saw in this example. An indirect object, complement, and a direct object. So but this is not the only way we could express these three arguments. We could also use a sentence like, Sarah gave a gift to Jill. Now here, the event that we're picturing is exactly the same, regardless of which sentence we use, but this is another structure that we can use. We have Sarah still in subject position, filling one of the arguments, and then we're still going to need two complements. Well, here is the noun phrase, a gift. What is being given? That's still here as the direct object. But the receiver could be over here inside the prepositional phrase, where Jill is serving as the object of that preposition. So even though we have two different structures, two different ways we could say that, describe that event, we're still going to have three arguments. So to compare, we have the same event being described in two different ways, but the idea of the linguistic arguments remains the same because the verb remains the same. So this is a little recap on the idea of syntactic arguments. And with the verb gave, all three of these noun phrases are required elements. They're arguments, so all three of them are in the sentence. None of the elements are adjuncts because they're all required. Sarah, Jill, and a gift. We just have two different structures in order to express that.